In my blog, Real Experiences with Navajo Skinwalkers, I posted that a few weeks ago. But in the blog, I mentioned that there were witnesses to the nighttime account, and on the following day, we had brought a Navajo actor who lived in Gallup, New Mexico. His name was Ray Tracy. He co-starred with Brian Keefe in Joe Panther. I believe he played Joe Panther. But his grandma was I won't say she was a shaman, but she definitely had, a lot of spiritual knowledge. And she was also an expert tracker. And she had taught Ray a whole bunch of things. And Ray Tracy was no fool. He wasn't your typical, your Hollywood type actor. He was a real guy, down to earth, solid Navajo. He had a firm understanding and a belief in skinwalkers. And Ray was a Latter Day Saint. He had actually served a full time mission as a Latter Day Saint. And when Dave, George, and I brought him out to the Fort Wingate Chapel, the first thing we did was describe to him where we had heard these wolves talking to each other, howling to each other. And one was behind the chapel, behind the trailer where the sister missionaries had been spooked, terrorized, and it was up on the hill. Of course, during the night we didn't know it was a hill back there. And the other one had come from the front of the chapel off to the actual Fort Wingate site, from underneath the bridge. And the same bridge that Dave, George, and I crossed in the truck. And at the point we crossed the bridge, Dave felt a hand just hit him in the chest, like, palm slap, to try and stop him from crossing the bridge. Well, anyway, Ray and I and Dave went back to the hill, and Ray found these tracks. They were wolf prints, but they were large as the palm of a man's hand. That, there's no wolf on the planet that large. They were good 7 inches from the base of the print to the claw marks, and a good 4 inches wide. And they weren't like a foreprint and hind print. It was like it was walking on two legs. And we measured it by our stride, and it was pretty much consistent with what a human would do. And now these tracks came from the top of that hill down into the gully, which was behind the missionaries' trailer, walked down the gully over toward where the bridge was, staying out of sight. Now, we don't know if those tracks were made the night prior, or if they were made, pounding on the sister missionaries' trailer. But we do know that the sisters were harassed by the shaking of the trailer and these howling noises, and just terrified. They were terrified. And there was no doubt in my mind, or in my companion Dave's mind, that these were skinwalkers. That night, we heard the howl, and the three other brethren from the local branch heard the howls, two of which were Navajo. One was a white guy that owned a trading post. And the white guy from the trading post, incidentally, was the same guy that said that they're just being hysterical women. girls. Same guy I told, maybe you're not as spiritual as you ought to be. He was in the branch presidency. I shouldn't have said that to him. I could have been sent home for that. Very disrespectful. But my belief in the sisters and their experiences and their honesty weighed more than this man's arrogance. But I will tell you that that is the summation of the evidence that we found post the personal experience with the howling at night. The it is my opinion, and I do strongly believe that skinwalkers do exist and that they do terrorize their own people.